silence. Do you like it? I don't think it's a nice thing. It's really, really, really scary. Catherine can relate to that because people suffer in silence. So I'm going to rewind back to 1977 on a paradise island of Mauritius. People think it's a beautiful island. It is a beautiful island, but for me, that was my hell. And the reason being, we go to 1978, when I was 1 year old. My mother committed suicide. And my dad was previously married to another lady, and she came back to look after me. And she done the best thing, she looked after me. But my dad was a heroin addict, unfortunately. And what my dad used to do, he used to take his car up to the hills, lock up the windows with me in the car. And he didn't inject, he used to smoke it on foil paper. And he used to smoke his heroin around me with all the windows closed. So that was my humble beginning. Then my dad decided when I was 8 years old that he's going to kill himself. Not that I already lost my mother through suicide. He thought, no, I'll do it. But what drove my mum and dad to do that is that suffering in silence. And throughout my adult life, I used to think, was it my fault that my mother killed herself? Was it postnatal depression? Was it she saw my face and she didn't like me? I'm 39 years old, so I spent the majority of my life feeling that I was to blame for my parents killing themselves. And the way that my father killed himself was a horrible, horrible way. He threw petrol over him and he lit himself. So at this time I'm 8 years old, and my daily routine, my family's in Mauritius, they're all millionaires, so we had a good life there. We had really big house and what have you. We have massive steps, and my daily routine will be to wait for my dad to come. So I used to sit on the steps like this, waiting for my dad. Dad never came home. And again, Dad never came home. Now it's getting dark because in the tropics it gets dark really early, 6 o'clock. So I'm waiting. Next thing I see, the police comes in, and I hear my stepmother turns around and say to me, "Oh, your dad got burnt." Me being that age, I thought, hold on a minute, he must have burnt his hand like I do when I play with matches, or if I've touched the iron or something like that. But I didn't know what happened. Then he died at 3 o'clock in the morning while I was sleeping. The next day when I woke up, I was given the news that my dad died. It didn't sink in, not one bit. So again, I've gone back on that step, waiting for Daddy to come home. But my dad came back in a box. So we have to rewind back on the island of Mauritius in 1986. At that time it was a third world country. My dad came in a crate, which was that crate that you put vegetables in. My dad came in an open truck, and he came, and the last thing I remember of my dad, he was black as anything on his face and he had bandages around his face. He had 80% burns. It still didn't sink in. It didn't sink in at all. And I was born a Hindu, but I'm not a Hindu anymore. But they cremate, and they refused to take me to the cremation ground, which in a way I'm a bit grateful for now. I didn't want to see another second burning of my father. But that night, when Daddy never came home, it actually sunk in. And one of my dad's sisters, who I was very, very close to, she just had a baby. Her baby was about 3 months old, and she left her child and she stayed with me for a whole month. So that was my early childhood. So now, at 9 years old, when my father's passed away, my mum's sister decided to come out of the woodworks. And she came to see me, the little child that I was, and she said to me, "Do you know what? That woman that you've been calling mum for the last 9 years, she's not your mum. Your mum is my sister, and she also died. She also committed suicide." And I went, what the fuck? Sorry for my language, but that's what I said at a young age. But obviously it wasn't in English, it was in French. So, I said. So that's what it was. So she came, she wanted to shine. She wanted to show, do you know what, I'm a good person. I'm a really, really, like a Mother Teresa. I'm going to come and rescue this child. And I'm going to adopt this child. So one of my uncles, because my stepmom wasn't married to my dad, they were married religiously, so there wasn't a legitimate marriage. So she had no guardianship or anything over me, so my dad's brother had it. So he kidnapped me out of school. I spoke to him yesterday, I'm going to go back to that story in a minute. And he kidnapped me out of my school. He signed the papers in the Supreme Court for my auntie to bring me to England. And there's me saying, yes, I've won the lottery. When I came here, everything changed. I was brought here as a servant in her house. And she had 2 children. They used to buy clean, new clothes for them. I used to get clothes from charity shops. Then I came to England at the age of, well, I was 10 at the time when I came. I couldn't speak English fluently like I do now. I got bullied at school. I got racism in Streatham, people throwing eggs at me. I went through all that. Then I always had it in my head because I heard family saying, do you know what? UTTAM, just leave him there. He's going to become a heroin addict just like his dad. We'll use him. We'll do that. We'll do this. So I came to England. This is what happened. And it was far from the dream. So at the age of 11, they had a 3-bedroom house in Norbury. And I used to clean the house every Saturday with a dustpan and brush, without a hoover at that age. At the age of 12, I was decorating the 3-bedroom house. But the reason I was doing it, I loved them, which I thought was love, and I used to fight for them. I used to do everything for them. But they were just using me. But I saw them as my mum and dad. The old man was great, he was ex-RAF, but he was henpecked. And he just listened to everything that his wife said. He taught me a lot of great stuff. He was a great philosopher. And he actually went to Oxford University as well, so he was a great man, but unfortunately his wife ruled the house. Then at 22, I said thank you, because they started talking about my dad. Regardless of my dad being a heroin addict, killing himself, making me an orphan, he was my dad. He was my world. I loved him. And I still do. But I've always had it in my head that I will never become a druggie like my dad. And that one day, that was my biggest wise, is that I'm going to open a rehab centre with my dad's name on it. And I'll be cutting that ribbon. This is what's keeping me going. And don't get it twisted, I went into addiction as well. I found a beautiful lady called Marijuana. She was with me morning, day and night. She never left me. She gave me comfort. She made me feel like the world was beautiful. Made me feel horny even. But do you know what? No, I don't smoke weed. Because my drug at the moment is my passion. I will say I am successful because I never had love. I never had my own family, but I've built my family. I've got an amazing wife who's my rock. Kehinde, who's my sister here, will tell you about my little family. I've got 2 beautiful children. And you know what? That's my success. I live in an area called Cuffley in Hertfordshire. I don't know if people know about Cuffley. It's a really affluent area. That is my success. I am happy. I don't want the private jets. I don't want the Rolls Royce. Because do you know what? Where I came from, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So I met a man by the name of Bob Proctor from Canada. I took up his coaching and went to a lot of his seminars. I went over to LA and he changed my life. And now I've become a coach, a motivational speaker. I'm a podcaster. I'm also a presenter. And I'm also working along Les Brown's son from America. I'm on Tony Robbins' sons I'm working with. I'm working with a lot of highly influential people coming out of the US. So my message to everybody is, your past does not determine your future. And you need to know within yourself, the most important thing is your why. Why do we wake up every morning? Do we wake up to press that snooze button to lose? No, get up, go out there, because the world don't owe you anything, you owe yourself. So the only thing I knew about Mayfair was playing Monopoly. There you go. But today, the child that was the orphan, the child that couldn't speak English, and the child that had eggs thrown at him, had his head put in urinals in the toilets, is standing here talking to you guys. And anything is possible. You just need to believe in yourself. And thank you so much.